All right, what's up, everybody? So today we have the Jazzmaster. It's gonna go together. We're putting all the components on it. Here's the final. Um, here's the body with all the stain on it. You can take a look at the sides. Everything's pretty smooth. 3 coats of that polyurethane from Minwax, the clear satin, and this thing's looking pretty cool. So just a solid black guitar, and we're gonna put it together. And what we're first what we're gonna do is we're gonna run our pickup cables. So we're gonna run this through the cavity. Again, the Warmoth guys, they did an awesome job. Lucky for me, these openings are large enough for the EMG, little adapters here on the ends of the wires. So these fit down into that cavity perfectly. So when we put this together, it's going to be super nice just to be able to plug that wire I just ran into the body of the guitar into the back of this pickup, and it's just going to plug right into there. Boom, slips in, and you're good to go. So what we are going to do right now is, because we have a towel, we got a nice clean soft work surface, I'm going to just plug it in. All right, so there's a little arrow on top of the plug here. You're not going to be able to see it, but that indicates where the top piece, where that goes. So you'll plug that in facing up and on that side, and that way when you flip it over, the EMG is in, the pickup is in the right position automatically. So set that down on the pickup ring, grab our 4 pickup ring screws, which are these little black ones, and we're gonna get those screwed in. And for me, because the neck relief pocket is like set at a standard height, the neck is going to sit up a little bit higher. So when I measured the string heights out, or the saddle heights out with the bridge the way it is now, it's going to be pretty flat. So I'm not going to take that spacer out. I'm going to leave that spacer in and keep it at that height. We'll put in the volume pot next. We're going to take off the nut and the first washer. Lift this up. Oops. Okay, so the lock washer needs to go with the tongs pointing up, and we'll put this guy in the hole here. Make sure that the prongs on the volume pot are pointing back like that. That way we have access to plug in the wire back there. Okay, so we'll keep it in that position. We'll grab the washer and the nut for the top, put the washer down, and then the nut, and we'll start tightening this down. We'll get it hand tight first, as much as we can with our own fingertips. Double check the position there, that is where we want it. Let's double check the knob here, the volume knob. Set that down as far as it goes. That's about how much of, maybe if I put it this way, That's about how much clearance you want on it, like a credit card or, you know, business card or something underneath that. You don't want it to touch because you don't want to start taking off any of the finish of the guitar. So, yep, I'm happy with that. Let's take that off. We'll use a 11 millimeter socket, and this is just by using your hand and no ratchet. And you're going to want to just tighten that down without screwing up a brand new guitar. Tighten that down and tight, but snug. Okay. That's still in the right position there. This is in there snug, so that's not going to pop out. And we'll put the volume knob back on. I don't have the Allen, or maybe, let's see if this one works. No, so that one's too small, but I'll tighten that before finishing anything else. So, okay, so that's that. That's the top of the guitar. Boom, we got the pickup in. This is looking super good. Got the pickup in, we've got the bridge in, and the volume. Single pickup, single humbucker in the bridge position. Looking pretty awesome there. All right, and on the back, we need to put our output jack into position. Okay, so this is what brings you the signal to your amp. I extended the cable, so this is the output from the volume pot. So that gave us a few more inches. We'll have plenty of room now to plug this into the volume pot there. So what we do with this in, we just run this whole contraption down into that cavity there. We have our 2 screws that we pre-drilled, and we're just gonna snug those up and make sure the output jack is secure. So all this stuff is pretty easy. It's the second time we've put this thing together now, and that's kind of what pre-assembling these things will do for you. So if you're gonna put a guitar together, it's a good idea to test fit all your pieces first. Make sure all your holes are drilled. That way when you have the finished body like this, you don't have to worry about screwing it up or having to drill into the wood. You can just put it together and tighten everything down. Alright, so that's what we're doing here. The output jack is tight, the nut on the output jack. I did that, I already had done that previously, so make sure these 2 screws holding down the jack plate are nice and tight. It doesn't have to be over tightened because you don't want to strip any of that out, but this is sitting down nicely, so our output jack is in there. Our wires are into the to the belly cavity here. Here's a quick close-up of what's happening on the inside of the Jazzmaster body cavity. So I have the cover off, and this is where all the electronics go, the volume, the battery bus for the 9-volt power supply, because this is an active pickup. You've got your output jack and all the wiring done here. This sends a signal from the guitar to your amplifier so it can be heard through your amp. But I never did a close-up for you on what it looks like inside. So what we have here is the volume pot. This is the volume pot for the 81X active pickup. Super cool because these are solderless. All you do is you slide these little clips into the prongs, and that's it. That's all you have to do is just slide those in, and they come from this wire here, which is routed through the body cavity from the pickup, which is about up here. The pickup, and this is the pickup wire. The pickup wire, if you trace it, is the black and white one here. It's the black and white one here. That goes directly into the volume pot. Then there's a cable coming out of the volume pot, which is this black and white one here. That one goes directly to the output jack. And the thing about that one, this one here, so these two go to the output jack right there. And that's what sends your signal to the to your guitar cable, through the cable into the amplifier so you can be heard. Now, when you have an active pickup, you need a battery supply, and this is the battery supply for this one. I decided to put it into the cavity, and that was because I wanted to keep as much wood as possible. I was only using one volume knob, one volume pot, so having the battery really didn't take up any space for me, and that's why I chose to do it right here, was to just keep it in the cavity, and it wasn't going to affect anything. So when you have your active pickup, you've got a red and black cable, this one right here. This one's coming from the battery, the 9-volt battery that's in there, and if you trace that wire, you trace it back to this plug. So this is your battery bus. The battery bus, the red wire comes from the battery into the battery bus, then it comes out of the battery bus and to your pickup. So this red wire goes back to the body cavity, and that's what's supplying the power to the pickup. Okay, it goes back in there. And then the other wire that's coming from the 9-volt supply actually goes to one of the grounds on the output jack. So this black cable goes to the ground, and you can see that right there, this one. And that is grounded to the output jack. And that's it. This one is really simple, and probably the most simple setup I've ever done, but thank you to EMG for the solderless connections. That made everything so easy. You guys could do this yourself. Don't be afraid. All you got to do is plug in a few wires. They have diagrams, and it is just so much easier than trying to solder it yourself. So that's how the inside of this Jazzmaster came out. I'm just gonna do a quick check on the neck to make sure that it's straight. So I want to check for I want to make sure before we do any of this that we have a pretty straight neck, and if not, I'll make a couple adjustments to the truss rod, just a couple turns, just to get it to sit right where we need it to. This is hard to show you what I'm doing here, but I'm going to go ahead and just set the neck this way so I can kind of look down and see what's going on. So you want to keep it off the nut, because the nut will put it in a different position. So as we glance down all the frets, I can see just a tiny little bit of bow in this thing. And you can kind of tell as I've got this on pretty close to dead center of the neck here, and it's got a little bit of rock actually. Oh, that's why. So yeah, I mean, it's got a little bit of rock. You might be able to see the straight edge rocking here, which indicates that the middle of the neck, this area, is a little bit higher than here and here. So this section of the neck is higher, which indicates it has a almost a negative curvature right now. And I know that when the strings go on, it's going to pull it up, but I want to try to just get this a little bit more level before it goes in. So I'm going to give the truss rod a couple turns, and we'll see what we can do as far as getting this a little bit straighter before putting it onto the guitar body. Alright, so this one takes a 7/32 Allen to the back of the guitar here, back of the neck. turn it. And that was like, that was about a half turn there, but that was super loose. So let's do 3/4 of a turn. Set it back down and do this again. So I'm going to make sure I'm off the nut and that I'm as centered as possible. So I'm using the dots on the frets to keep myself aligned while I do this. Okay. So still a bit of rock, quite a bit of rock in this thing. Let's try again. And who knows, maybe I'm turning this in the wrong direction and adding more. Maybe I'm adding more warp to this. Let's do. All right, so we're gonna try and do this in. That's not quite. Let's do a turn until it's facing straight up and down. Okay, straight up and down. It's about a 1/4 turn. Let's keep the neck this way now. And we'll do it again. So put the level in the center of all the frets, and we'll just double check this again. So it's even higher now, which is telling me that the tighter we make that, the tighter we screw the neck clockwise on the truss rod, the more downward bend we're putting into the neck. So as loose as I had it before, that was much straighter. So when I back this, back out, we'll measure it and see if it's flat. Essentially, we're curving the neck down more, which is going to kind of put a little bit of bind on the strings. So let's reverse what we have done. So what we did this last one was like a 1/4 turn, and then we did about 3/4 of a turn all in all. And this thing's super loose, so pretty much probably have it backed out as much as it can go. Now, let's try our level one more time and see where we're at. Okay, so that is better. It is almost flat. There's still just a tiny bit of rock in this, but looks like that's where we need to be. This is about as straight as we're going to get on the neck. And then remember, when the strings are tightened and they're, you know, connected to the bridge, and they're pulling and putting pressure basically on the head of the neck, it's going to be bowing that neck up. So that should give us a flat neck once we get all the strings on it, once all 6 strings have tension on them. Okay. So that said, let's get this thing bolted to the body. Okay, pop this stuff out here. Let's get these screws out. Okay. Neck. Get this out of the way. Move this over. And you don't want to slide it in. You want to just put it into the neck pocket straight down, and that will avoid any issues with stretching out that cutout. Okay, so we've got that in, we've got this down. Move that over a little. Okay, make sure that's in, and finger tighten the screws as much as you can to just make sure that they're, oh fuck, oops. So we want to put the neck plate on first. Don't be a dummy. Okay, neck plate goes back on. These go into the holes, and finger tighten them as much as you can. Make sure the screws are starting to bite on the threads there. So then you can take the screwdriver, tighten them all down. Okay, and the neck plate is going to self-center itself just like the bridge does, because of your little grooves here in the plate. So the bottom of the screw heads are going to center this plate. So don't tighten one of them down, just get them to where they're touching the metal and there's a little bit of play on it. And then once you get all that down, you can go around to each one, give it a little bit more of a turn, and then just gently go around to each screw, applying even pressure and torque and turns to each of the screws until they are completely tight. And that'll keep the neck centered, you know, that'll keep everything nice and even. So that's one thing you always want to do, is tighten these a little bit at a time. And once you've got it tightened enough, putting good pressure but not over tightening, you're good. Okay, so the neck is on. You can see we've got Jazzmaster built. We've got the body cavity closed up. The neck is on. We have a sweet, really sweet looking guitar that I'm gonna get strung up here in a little bit. String this thing up. We're gonna start intonating it, and then we're gonna see how cool and how awesome that EMG pickup sounds on this guitar. So check it out. This is cool. I'm happy with it. It's mean. It's gonna be loud. So that's stay tuned for the next. Stay tuned for the next video. This is gonna be cool. Actually putting this thing and playing it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Comment below if you have any questions. And until next time, thank you.